So CZ's involvement is quite huge. It's a huge validation for Aster too. He actually recently went public about his holding over 2 million on Aster, and even joking about his back holding.
Usually a lot of the cases, like some influencer, they're pumping their own narrative, they're telling their own story, and they're kind of looking from that feedback from the market to like kind of, yeah, you're right, and double down on that theory. And if people are following the trade, it kind of makes it more successful.
And to do extraordinary things, you have to deal with extraordinary pressure. So, but like nowadays, all human trader uses some form of AI. The problem with human is like you don't have that transparency of intention and incentive. I think that's a game changer.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Round Trip, a founder-to-founder conversation about the markets, technology, and momentum. I'm your host, John Sienna, from Web3.com Ventures, and I'm here with Cassidy Wong from PA News. Welcome.
Hi, Leonard. So on this episode, we'll be diving deep into the future of decentralized trading. Today, we're thrilled to welcome Leonard here, the visionary and CEO of Aster, who's been driving the platform's explosive growth, especially this year, since their TGE couple months back in September. They have backing from Binance founder CZ. Leonard will be sharing his insights on his journey from TradFi to leading a top DEX today.
Thank you for having me, Cassidy, John. Nice spending Christmas with you guys.
A little after Christmas, but yeah, we took the day off. But yeah, nice to have you, and thank you for taking the time. Why don't we kick it off? Because I know the trading competition of human versus AI just ended, and wanted to know your thoughts on that. Especially because it looked tough for both sides, and maybe you could start with like a general, like what you're seeing with the markets.
I think the competition is more of an experiment. We'll follow that up with some product idea that comes with it, just to continue to explore in this direction and this topic. I think a lot of people like focus a lot on the performance of these human traders and agent traders. It's hard to even define what a pure human trader is. It's easy to define an AI agent trader, right? But like nowadays, all human trader uses some form of AI. Actually, more important for a trader, even regardless of whether it's an agent or a human, to be adaptive, that more than profitable in a certain time period. But I think one very interesting feedback or observation that we had is that how AI can actually allow more trustless asset management and copy trading. When we evaluate, or when the general public evaluate all this human trader, when we talk to our user, let's like see what they want, what they think of all this performance, there's always reason how people have to second guess the intention of all this human trader. Because human trader trade differently when they're being observed or incentivized differently, right? An AI agent doesn't. Like as long as you give it energy, it will follow your initial prompt mandate. So given the same sort of performance or even slightly worse performance of an AI agent, it seems like that like the focus group that we've conducted, people that we've talked to, they're more interested in investing with an AI agent.
Yeah, so, I think like you said, there's more trust because like usually a lot of the cases, like some influencer, they're pumping their own narrative, they're telling their own story, and they're kind of looking from that feedback from the market to like kind of yeah, you're right, and double down on that theory. And if people are following the trade, it kind of makes it more successful. Like, like with Ansem, with WIF, he just kept bull posting. And then, you just have this positive flywheel. And then WIF actually became something. But with agents, at least right now, they're not like tied to this whole social media marketing strategy where they're influencing the price themselves.
I think even if it does, you are certain of the inputs, which is very important in a trustless like kind of infrastructure. So like basically crypto allows trustless settlement, right? I feel like at least from what we've learned so far, the feedback we got, like AI allows that trustless transfer power of attorney. If like that's like how I generally feel. Like if we ever reach a state where we can allow permissionless, trustless asset management, AI will be probably very important. Like we don't know how. Like for most people, like even for me, I don't. Like you don't understand like how we get to that final like trading decision, but you are sure of the input, and that makes all the difference. Like that like even though like maybe they're looking at Twitter data like at least they're not trying to like enrich themselves, for example. All they need is
I think that's where the future could go, where the AI agents, they have their own social media strategy, and they are trying to influence people and make money. Like because for them, it's just a game sometimes, just like it is for humans.
Yeah, if you decide to invest with an agent like that, at least you knowingly do that, right? The problem with human is like you don't have that transparency of intention, I think, and
Yeah.
incentives. I think
Yeah.
that's a game changer. Like in terms of performance, I think like we learned that performance, like strategies comes, like effectiveness comes and goes. So like I don't know whether that is where somewhere we can get a breakthrough from AI trading in the short term, but I think in terms of like how we can create like an AI product that is permissionless, that's trustless, AI trading product that is trustless. I think that's where like the interesting short-term product will emerge. And we also want to do something probably as a follow-up, like in the next quarter or so.
Aster is definitely looking into something interesting that's going to be like the future of the trading market. Since then, you have been grabbing a lot of the market attention, especially like a lot of us have been looking at Aster since CZ. He actually recently went public about his holding over 2 million on Aster. And he's actually been super active in the community lately, dropping comments, sharing his takes, and even joking about his back holding. So this is actually after a long time. He hasn't been doing this for a while now. So CZ's involvement is quite huge. It's a huge validation for Aster too. Like, how do you feel about this?
I think it's definitely a net positive thing that we have thesis tension, endorsement, personal investment. I think any project would be happy to get that amount of attention that comes along with that endorsement of any prominent crypto figure, CC himself. I think we're incredibly humbled by that. Of course, with that endorsement comes a lot of expectation. The market expects us to do things. The price kind of reflected that, and that becomes pressure on the team. I feel like it's probably better to be pressure than to be irrelevant. And to do extraordinary things, you have to deal with extraordinary pressure. So it's good that we're being like that. Keep us uncomfortable. That means we're like constantly moving forward. So yeah, I wish like not just CC, right? I wish more publicly admired, inspiring figures would vote with their own money, right? To in terms of confident votes on Aster. I hope maybe tomorrow Elon Musk discloses holding. Like it will be even more crazy, right? But then I think it is a good thing for the team, for the industry in general. It generate buzz, it generate attention, drive user into the ecosystem, and that's how we can iterate better in long term.
So I'm not sure if you expected it, but like, how did the team handle it when you go from like pre-CZ tweet to after? And I know like when I was building a product, there was these moments where like someone just promoted it out of nowhere. We didn't ask, and our product really wasn't ready for like that sort of scale and demand. So yeah, how did you handle that? I'm just really curious.
I think the two aspects. First is like just brute force. Like when the traffic comes, you just have to like constantly deal with like everything that's breaks down under the pressure, right? There's just no way around it. Like you don't have enough time to figure out the root cause. Like you scale up your servers, like you just not sleep and like keep pulling like all the expert that you can reach out to help kind of catch up. I think that's I don't think there's any secret recipe. Just at the end of the day, is like whether you're like yourself and the team want it more than other people and willing to like put in more resources, time, effort into it. And I think the second thing is like there's a crisis mode and there is like times when you have to kind of like step back and try to be more efficient in converting those traffic. I think we have now like trying to catch up with like the system demand and like coming up with ways to generate more of the traffic, because I think in the long term, like did all this first a short term, like if your product couldn't keep up, then eventually it's gonna be like a negative asset, because it's harder to convert like a churn user than to convert a new user.
Yeah,
Like,
once you're burned, they're burned. Yeah.
exactly. Like if you like the people, like the traffic that you have received when like all these KOLs or this prominent figure promotes you, like every time your system goes down, you lose some users that becomes harder to poach. We are facing that problem right now, right? Because of how like, we weren't ready when all this like kind of kicked off. Some users have the impression that our like, user experience is not as good as like some of our competitors, and it will take probably double the effort for us to convince them to come back and give us a chance, which we believe we're like in a way better position in terms of UI UX system stability than 3 months ago because of all the feedback that we received, all the stress tests that we kind of get from the market and feedback. But yeah, I think we're just these are just some of the experience that we have had dealing with that pressure. And again, I think it's a blessing. Like it's every entrepreneur kind of dream of that moment where you have that product market and sales feet, and then you just can't keep up with the demand. But yeah, for those who haven't experienced, just be careful with what you wish for.
Yeah. So how are you handling like, yeah, you have that pressure, but then it seems like every few weeks there's like a new kind of, perp stacks popping up, and yeah, it just gets more and more competitive. There's always like this new feature that they're trying to like draw users towards. And how do you handle that? Because like I'm sure you believe, like a lot of people believe, like a lot of the volume is moving from centralized institutions to decentralized institutions. Like you could see it lately, like with Coinbase integrating, Jupiter. They've already integrated like Airdrome, but it seems like a lot of the CeFi institutions are also doing that. So there may be even like a blend with the perp stacks as well. Yeah, how do you stay relevant when everyone's like competing on like, hey, you're gonna get a token if you use us? How do you keep people past like that TGE moment? Yeah, I think that's like the most challenging right now for you and the market.
I think it's challenging for everyone, and for all new, hot, emerging vertical, everyone kind of have to experience that. If you look back, I think eventually it boils down to the product, right? And I think one thing that is specific for crypto Web3 project is like how user driven is your product, like whether you can create a product where user actually generate values and feels like they are part of that product, where they are involved in the governance, they're involved in the like product roadmap, like decision making. So I think that's unique to Web3, to crypto. Like people, the community feels like they have a stake in the product, and ultimately is whether you create a product that generate value, whether whether you find a way for that, for the for the user to pay for that value, and whether you distribute that value back to your token holders. I think once you have that like figure out, then it will be pretty sustainable. Like you're probably going to stay relevant, and the rest of it is like whether in terms like as the competition become more intense, whether you can find your own differentiator, whether offering something that other people are not offering, or you offer it with a slightly better experience of it.
Yeah, there's a very interesting feature that I found on the Aster DEX. It's called showed mode. I think it's like a new privacy trading feature. Like what kind of market need or gap are you trying to prioritize here? Like why has privacy become such a major focus for Aster?
So privacy, we have been working on this narrative for quite a while. I think it was in June where like that there was this whole discussion on like between CC and James Wen, like how he felt like he got liquidation hunted on Hyperliquid. Regardless of whether that statement is true, like I think it is obvious that there is a need for people to trade on the to keep themselves to keep it transparent while being verifiable and trading on blockchain, maintaining self custody basically. And this doesn't seem to be like a very good solution out there in the market right now. And I think for Aster and the team, I think we believe that for mass adoption to happen, that part of the market has to be addressed. So that's why we've been trying to roll out different features that it's with the option of being private, but still verifiable self-custody. So more user with that needs can like trade on DEX. And like I think regardless of whether we agree with each other or not in the DEX spaces, we all agree that like DEX, and that's why I think there can be multiple players that are good at different things that address like a user with maybe a slightly different preference, and the path that we've chosen are the users with this privacy need.
Yeah. So do you plan on like converging that product with like the perp product? Because I saw it's a different tab, so it has like a different amount of volume, and maybe the people who need like that feature are high volume users. But if it's kind of low volume, like liquidity gets liquidity. Yeah, why would they use it now if there's not too much liquidity?
So I think this is just a step towards like the ultimate form. The Chimo is private, but it also has a lot of other different interesting feature that we want to experiment with to see whether like at least that's like the feedback that we get. Like user are interested in those features. For example, like a relatively high leverage goes up to 1,000 times. It doesn't go. It doesn't get into the order book. So like it's different kind of trading strategy that's probably different for people who need who wants or needs to trade on an order book. And also I think like one of the things that we particularly are interested in testing with the Shimeld is like a profit sharing model where we have seen this product like out there and people are using it is like when you don't well, we only charge you like a profit share when your trade has a positive P&L. So I think for Aster, we just want to offer more and more options for our users, whether it's like different leverage level, different weights of charging fees, whether we have a privacy option, and so that like more user with different preference can come trade on DEX, and we'll see like what eventually sticks and can actually help us push us towards a more decentralized futures.
So is that profit thing also with the funding rate, or you can't offer that? Like you only charge the winners the funding fee.
That's a good suggestion.
I know that kills people. They're like, oh, this funding fee is killing me. Like it just pushes my liquidation price higher or lower. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can look at that, but like funding rate, it's more of a mechanism to kind of adjust the index. So yeah,
I think I want. Yeah, it's a hard problem to solve. I'm not sure, but I was just curious how to make sure. So I guess since we're talking about like product, Aster Chain is right around the corner. So also wondering like how do you think about Aster Chain as its own product, and how's like the evolution of the ecosystem from more of like a one purpose kind of app, which is a DEX, into this broader whole ecosystem. And then I guess a follow up was like how would you see that? Because a lot of people liked you because you were focused like on the BNB ecosystem, and then now you have your own.
So first, I think like the core product of Aster will still be trading. So we're not. I think one thing is clear that we're not going to focus too much on building an ecosystem around Aster, at least not in the next 2 or 3 quarters. I think we believe that there is enough chain out there that satisfy most of the needs. There's enough general purpose blockchain. We build this chain to specifically serve our needs so that we can get the performance that we want and the transparency that we require and the option of being private. There's just no other solution out there that can fulfill all those, like the impossible triangle. So we have to create it for ourselves. So it's very specific to Aster needs. In the future, there might be other projects that might need that sort of blockchain, but right now, this is built to optimize the trading experience on Aster.
Okay, so more of that like an app chain than like its whole ecosystem. Got it.
At least for now, it is.
Yeah.
And I think different teams are good at doing different things, and because of the background of team, we're better at creating a good trading experience. And yeah, I think if in today's world, if you're not like top 1% of, especially in crypto, not 1% of like doing specific things because you're competing with everyone openly, where they can just copy you immediately because it's blockchain. Like you're not going to stay relevant and sustainable in the long term. It's probably hard to kind of survive through like a cycle if you're not like extremely good at what you're doing. So instead we want to focus on building that trading experience. Yeah, that's this.
Yeah, we've heard that Aster Chain, as John mentioned, is aiming for mainnet launch sometime next year. Do you think 2026 the market will be performing better than the current market situation we're in right now?
Not financial advice. Hopefully it does. I'm not very good at predicting the price. I think if we keep building, we will get to a new high in the next cycle. Because I think price is not just about product; it's also about market liquidity, like sentiment, and so I think it. Like as for Aster Chain, we will be like our target is to launch at the end of Q1. So that will definitely give us more utility. So I think it would be a positive thing for our token. But yeah, this price is just too complicated of a thing to predict. So much variables. But I personally is quite confident that it will perform probably better than now because we're at the bottom. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on how the market will perform.
How does like the community feel like? Because I mean, they could trade short, but like trading long and flat is a lot harder and yeah, maybe exhausting. I guess, is that like one of the reasons for the trading competition? See like what strategies work better?
Well, so there's several things, right? On community, I think it's very obvious that like a lot of the community sentiment is tied with the price performance, and we absolutely understand that people invest their like real hard money into it. And I think our team listened to that community feedback, and we understand that like we're not just creating a product. We also have an asset that we offer that is tied to people's like life saving, basically. So that's why we constantly improve our buyback system based on community feedback, making sure that like the value is being captured and redistributed fairly to the holders. We can't control the market, but we can control like how the tokenomics work, how we have how many new features we have that will create value. And I think ultimately the part where I believe that would help us to go through this like probably toughest stretch of time is revenue and fee. We are a project where we have sustainable positive cash flow, and we intend to keep it that way. And the fee that we generate will be used for buybacks. So as long as we keep doing that, we keep repeating this this practice, we will be able to eventually accumulate enough buying pressure to get us to like the next new all-time high for our token. It might take like 1 month, it might take 2 months, it might take 1 year, but I think if we keep doing the right thing, then we'll see the right result.
I guess what would be like the thing you're most excited for in 2026? Is it like more adoption of privacy? Yeah, what would you like to see in the broader markets?
Definitely, like we've been working on this for a very long time. Privacy, like our own layer one. Whether like people actually would use it, like prefer to have that option. It would be interesting to see what the ratio would be for people that opt for like publicizing a trade and opt for like keeping a trade private. I think that would kind of be like a testimony for like whether our hypothesis was correct. That's number one. Number two, I think AI. I think definitely there are so many people working on this. I think it became more of a cliche, but I think what we learned from this competition, the thing that I mentioned before, is like having AI to take over the investment and allowing that trusted asset management product to kind of blossom. I think that would be something excites me. And finally, I think there's this concept of a perpetualization of everything, like because how perpetual future is 24/7, average low fees. It is if you have enough liquidity, usually is a superior trading product of anything that you can kind of quantify. You can create an index out of. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of asset would become a perpetual future in the coming year. Last year, obviously, everybody was talking about stock. Like commodities, gold has been very hot. I wonder what would happen next year, especially with prediction market become more of a heated vertical. Like that kind of would accelerate all this quantifying like all this like more qualitative markets, and whether that would like some of them would eventually be able to mature into a market where you can create a perpetual out of that. I think that would be very interesting.
Yeah, I think the key thing you said was like it has enough liquidity because you hear like this long tail of assets, and these are like very illiquid, kind of like Pokemon cards.
Mhm.
And yeah, if you have the perps for that, I'm not sure about it. Yeah,
It's a thing that we're not sure about. That's the most exciting, right? So.
yeah, maybe because there's perps, there's more liquidity. So yeah, that could change things. Yeah. All right, great, Leonard. I really enjoyed this chat, and yeah, look forward to seeing what you release next year, or yeah, in 2026. Really appreciate your time and joining us over the break. And it just proves that yeah, the hardest are building over break.